All right, well, good morning, fifth graders. As we are moving right along, we're going to talk a little bit about solving addition and subtraction equations. So that's going to be our focus today, solving addition and subtraction equations. Now, all right, so addition and subtraction equations. So basically, we're going to look at 4 different examples of types of problems that you're going to see. And the first one we're going to look at today, we're going to say x plus 278 equals 965. Now, whenever we want to have an equation like this, we want to do something called isolate the variable. So that's a key phrase. I'll say it again in a weird voice. Isolate the variable. Now, sometimes at school you might remember maybe you got lunch isolation, and that means that you are by yourself. When something is isolated, you are by yourself. So whenever we isolate the variable, we are taking the variable and putting it by itself. So the variable in this situation is x. A variable by definition is just a symbol or a letter that represents an unknown number. We're going to be using x today. X is a very common variable, but a variable can be any letter, A, B, all the way up through Z. Okay, just depending on what you're doing, it really doesn't matter. We're going to be primarily using x today. X plus 278 equals 965. The idea is we want to isolate the variable, which means we want to get the variable by itself on one side of the equal sign and get all the numbers on the other side of the equal sign. So essentially, I have a plus 278. So I understand what 278 is. The idea is that I want to make this nothing so that it's just x over here. I don't want 278. I want nothing and then just x. So since this is a plus 278, I'm going to subtract 278, and that's going to equal 0. All right? Now, chances are some of you won't even really need to write this down, because my rule is whatever I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other side of the equation. By sides of the equation, you see the word equal, kind of an equation. By sides of the equation, I mean I have this side of the equation, I have this side of the equation. All right? And so whatever I do to this side, I got to do to this side. Well, here's minus 278. So if I subtracted 278 from this side, I have to subtract 278 from that side. So I can't do 5 minus 8. I just subtract that like normal. The 6 becomes 5. The 5 becomes 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. I can't do 5 minus 7. I cross off the 9. I make it an 8. I make the 5 a 15. 15 minus 7 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. I get 687. X equals 687. All right, well, that's not hard. All right, let's see what happens if I switch where the x goes. All right, so we're going to say I've got 492 plus x equals 1,235. All right, in this situation, since it's addition, nothing's going to change. Okay, nothing's going to change. It's just plus x. Here I have a positive 492. I want to get rid of this 492, so I just have x over here because I have to isolate the variable. I have to get x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 492 from both sides. That's going to give me 0. And since I subtracted 492 from this side, I have to come over here and subtract 492. 5 minus 2 is 3. I can't do 3 minus 9, so I'm going to borrow from the 2, make it a 1, make the 3 a 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. I can't do 1 minus 4. I can borrow from the 1, make it a 0, make this 1 an 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. I get x equals 743. All right? And so that's what happens with addition equations. Now, let's talk about subtraction equations. Let me get my other board here. All right, let's talk a little bit about subtraction equations. Let's just say, okay, for example, I have x minus 2,312, and that all equals 5,678. All right, this is a subtraction problem. My job is still the same. I still have to isolate the variable, getting x by itself. Since this is a negative 2,312, now that you're doing equations, 5th grade, I want you to see that a negative sign and a subtraction sign are interchangeable. A positive sign and an addition sign are interchangeable. So it's x minus 2,312. And since this is a negative, to get to 0, I'm going to add 2,312. I'm going to do the opposite of what the sign says. When I had the plus ones, I subtracted. Okay, that was a positive, so I subtracted. But here, this is a negative number. So I'm going to add 2,312 to make 0. And as I said before, whatever I do to one side of the variable, I have to do to the other side of the variable. If I add 2,312 to this side, I have to add 2,312 to this side. 8 plus 2 is 10. Put the 0 down, carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7,990. X equals 7,990. All right, let's look at one more. All right, let's go 6,509. All right, minus x equals 2,107. All right, now, this situation is a little bit different. All right, this situation is a little bit different, and this is going to be the most confusing, but I'm going to keep it consistent with what we just did a couple lessons ago with adding and subtracting negative and positive integers. There's multiple ways to look at this, but I'll kind of point that out in the end. So we're going to kind of prove that the same thing is going on. Now here I have a positive 6,509. That means to get rid of it, okay, that means to get rid of it, all right, I have to subtract 6,509 from both sides, okay? That's going to give me 0, but then that's going to give me 2,107 minus 6,509. That becomes a problem, okay? But since we've talked about negative numbers and subtracting bigger numbers from smaller numbers, we can help alleviate this. Now, we should know, if we remember our rules from subtracting bigger numbers from smaller numbers, if I'm doing 2,107 minus 6,509, okay, I'm going to get a negative answer, okay, which makes sense because I have a negative x. So you can kind of think of it in that way. But I don't want negative x, I want a positive x. So remember all I do when I had this situation, okay? All I would do was flip the numbers. I'd think about this as 6,509 minus 2,107, and then I would just put a negative sign in front of it. But I don't want a negative sign in front of it, so in this situation, all I'm going to do is do 6,509 minus 2,107, and that's going to be my answer. So I'm going to flip the numbers, 6,509 minus 2,107. 9 minus 7 is 2. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 1 is 4. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4,402. And sure enough, 6,509 minus 4,402 will indeed equal 2,107. That does work. That's a little more confusing. I want you to see the math of it, but I also want to point out this fifth grade to make it much easier. If you really see, all I really did was take this first number, 6,509, and subtract 2,107. That's all I did, and that gave me the value of x. So I want to point it out to you how easy it is to figure that out, even though it's a little different, okay? But I also wanted you to see the math behind what was kind of taking place there. As you move on in your math life, you're going to kind of want to know mathematically what's happening there. So once again, essentially all that was happening here in 6,509 minus x equals 2,107. All I did was take 6,509, subtract my answer, which was 2,107. I got 4,402. X equals 4,402. All right, have a great day, fifth grade. We'll talk to you later.